In this section, video module one, we're going to talk about various dimensions of media literacy. And I think a great place to begin is by talking about some of the major players. And I think certainly gatekeepers and gatekeeping theory falls under that category. So, gatekeepers influence our culture by deciding which information is filtered to the public. Now, usually when I say gatekeepers, most often people immediately go to the news media, and certainly they are in that category. There are many other types of gatekeeping than news, but usually we think about the news. So the news media decides which news stories we look at, that we read, that we listen to, that we watch on TV. They decide which ones we consume. They also decide which ones we don't have as much access to or we don't pay as much attention to. They not only determine what information is covered, they also determine what information is left out. On the plus side, they save a lot of time in our day by making sure they only put forth the articles that perhaps are newsworthy. That being said, there are the issues that they can very often promote some social values, either consciously or subconsciously. They often can direct our attention to specific media content, and that's why they're often linked to media bias, which is a kind of a big deal, a big topic of discussion today. Now, traditional media gatekeepers like ABC, NBC, CBS News, Fox News, CNN, the New York Times, the USA Today, those traditional news media are being replaced slowly by technological gatekeepers such as search engines, AI, chatbots, social media feeds, things like that. That being said, that gatekeeping is still going on, as it were. Akin to those gatekeepers are people called tastemakers. All right. Tastemakers are people who exert a strong influence on current trends and styles and pop culture. These are people are like Hollywood stars, big athletes, well-known musicians, social media influencers as well these days. And these folks, unlike gatekeepers, their greatest influence is on a pretty small and concentrated media market. Basically, their fans, their grouping of fans. They're going to have a large amount of influence with those fans in terms of determining what's cool, what's not cool, what should I purchase. It's going to really impact purchasing choices. It's going to impact a lot of things like that. They are very instrumental in keeping our economy vital by introducing new trends, products, services, media content. All those things, they're very, very important to keep our economy really moving forward. They do not play as big a role when it comes to, I'm sure many would like to, they don't play as much big a role in changing our opinions about big things, but when it comes to directing our opinions to things like trends and products and services, they really can have a big impact. I've said the word media literacy a good bit already, I believe. What is media literacy? Basically, it's a repertoire of competencies that enable people to analyze, evaluate. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What does it mean? I guess it means there are skills that you have that will help you look at various media messages and understand, and in some cases be able to create as well, be on the other end of it, be able to understand though what is attempting to be accomplished. In today's world, specifically, more specifically, media literacy is kind of taking a look at individuals. You At this point, you really have to discern bias and spin and misinformation in media. It can be very difficult these.
So that our kids are growing up in an environment, and this connects to what I was saying earlier about the media, where everything's contested, that nothing is true, because if it's on Facebook, it all looks the same. And if you're reading something from a Nobel Prize winning physicist next to some guy uh, in his underwear, writing in his basement,
Yeah.
or his mom's basement, on text, it looks like it's equally plausible. And part of what we have to do a better job of, if our democracies are function in a complicated, diverse society like this, is to teach our kids enough critical thinking to be able to sort out uh, what is true and what is false, what is uh, contestable and what is incontestable. We seem to have trouble with that, and our political system doesn't help. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, there are many difficulties. Obviously, we're not quite there yet, but there are many difficulties and trials you're going to face when it goes to watching TV and discerning what is truth and fiction, and really how we're being not necessarily coerced, but what we're being persuaded on. I've heard, when you look online, for instance, if you don't know what the product is, you are the product. There's many concepts, and we'll talk more about that as we go throughout the term. This idea of media literacy is going to come out throughout. Whereas media literacy has a bigger discussion, one of our most talked about discussions for this class is being able to look at a thing and determine what are the motivations behind those media messages.
I want to.
Final slide here are really the 5 media literacy questions we should be asking ourselves whenever we look at a thing, whether it be an advertising, whether it be a news story, or some form of political messaging. We got to ask the questions of who actually created the message. What were some of the things that they did in that advertisement, or other media message that was meant really to attract me, to maybe change what I'm, my point of view and things of that nature, and some of these other questions. I have a video here that I really want you to watch that'll give you a little bit better description of these 5 media literacy questions. There's also a background video in there, if you'll watch it, that gives a really great example of how that might play out.